I never imagined that my daughter's tragedy would unite us in this life-changing way. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. The sky was a bruised shade of gray, clouds rolling in like a funeral procession. I stood there, breath caught in my throat. The phone call, the one that shattered my world, still rang in my ears. My heart raced, heavy and thudding like a drum. Emily was gone. Just like that. One moment she was laughing, her bright eyes sparkling with mischief. The next, an icy void, a silence so profound it shook me to my core. My hands trembled as I clutched the receiver, each heartbeat throbbing with disbelief. She had been my light, my reason, my everything. My precious girl. The news hit harder than any blow. It took a moment to register. She was in an accident. An accident. Those words sliced through my mind, leaving jagged edges of pain that would never quite heal. I glanced around the room, filled with her drawings, the remnants of a life so full of hope. The walls echoed her laughter. It felt like a cruel joke. My husband, Tom, stood nearby, his face pale as ash. His eyes, usually so warm, were clouded with grief. We were lost, two souls adrift in an ocean of sorrow, struggling to breathe. Shattered pieces surrounded us. The family members began arriving in waves, drawn like moths to a flame. An aunt who couldn't let go of her own tears, a cousin who whispered comforting words that felt empty. Everyone tried to console us, but comfort felt like a foreign language. Then, just as the weight of despair grew unbearable, something strange happened. In the midst of our mourning came a series of odd occurrences. People began sharing their own stories of Emily, tales of kindness she had shown, moments of connection. Some claimed she had made small miracles happen, little ripples of love that had touched lives beyond her own. It was bizarre. I watched them talk, eyes wide, the energy shifting. One by one, they spoke of dreams Emily had sparked in them. A friend recalled how Emily had inspired her to pursue painting, another spoke of a kindness she had shown during a tough time. The room filled with stories that felt like magic but hurt like hell. Tom and I exchanged glances, an unspoken confusion settled over us. Was Emily's legacy a hidden treasure? Would her spirit somehow weave us together in ways we couldn't yet fathom? My heart raced again, but this time it was full of a desperate hope. What were the mysterious ways her life had affected others? Would these connections draw us closer, or would they fracture into a painful reminder of our loss? The tension in the room thickened, every word carrying a weight we couldn't yet understand. I felt the air crackle around us, the energy building. Conversations turned into fervent pledges to honor her memory, yet what did it really mean? A single tear slipped from my eye, falling to the floor. The sound was shocking in the silence, a reminder of my pain beneath the collective grief. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The days passed in a blur of hushed conversations and pained silence. Time seemed to lose meaning, each hour stretching into an eternity. The world outside continued its chaotic dance, unaware of the storm raging within our hearts. I traced the edges of Emily's last drawing, a vibrant depiction of a sun setting beneath a horizon of swirling colors. It felt as if she had captured the essence of life itself, yet all that remained was the stark absence of her presence. Tom and I found ourselves walking around the house in a semi-automated state, like ghosts wandering through a memory. Our conversations had become a series of nods and distant stares rather than full exchanges. Some days, he would sit for hours in Emily's room, lost in thoughts I couldn't fathom, while I found myself lingering in the kitchen, pretending to bake her favorite cookies but never managing to follow through. It felt wrong to celebrate something so mundane when the world had crumbled. One afternoon, as I rummaged through a box of Emily's things tucked away for safekeeping, I stumbled upon a note hidden in the corner, stained with the marks of time and crumpled from neglect. It was addressed to Mom. My breath caught as I opened it with trembling fingers. Dear Mom. If you ever find this, it means I've gone on an adventure. Don't be sad. I wanted you to know that I will always love you, and you are my sunshine. Please keep smiling and sharing love with everyone. Love. Emily. Tears streamed down my face as I clutched the note to my heart, feeling as if she were somehow right there with me. In the midst of my grief, a spark ignited a glimmer of hope that perhaps Emily's spirit, her indomitable light, could guide us in our darkest moments. That evening, when the house had settled into an uneasy quiet, I found Tom sitting on the back porch, staring at the stars speckled across the night sky. The cool breeze brushed against our skin, but it did little to chill the warmth swelling within me. I slipped outside and sat beside him, the silence stretching out around us. Do you ever feel her presence? I ventured softly, unsure how he would respond. He turned to me, his eyes glistening with unspent tears, and nodded. Every night, when I look up, I swear I can feel her. Like she's a part of everything. But it's confusing knowing she's not here and yet feeling her so strongly. My heart ached for his turmoil, and as we sat in shared understanding, a flicker of something I hadn't expected pierced through the gloom. Maybe this was how we would honor her, not just through our grief but by embracing the way she had touched the lives around us. A week later, as we planned Emily's memorial, I suggested we invite those who had spoken of their experiences with her. Tom hesitated at first, but something in me insisted. Perhaps we could create an evening not just to mourn but to celebrate the connections Emily had fostered. As the day approached, an unfamiliar nervous energy began to palpitate within me. Friends and family gathered, sharing stories that melted into laughter and terse, a patchwork of Emily's life painted with the colors she had spread throughout her short time with us. As they spoke, I felt a shift in the air. It was lighter, almost alive with the essence of her spirit. Yet just as the flame of community began to flicker into existence, a sudden shout pierced through the evening shadows. It was Amanda, Emily's best friend, standing near the edge of the gathering, her face pale and frantic. Wait. I need to tell you something. She faltered, the breath knocked from her lungs as the crowd turned to her, confusion marring our newfound peace. There's something you don't know about that day, about the accident. I found something important. The words hung heavy in the air, smothering the warmth that had begun to blossom within us. My heart raced, a storm of anxiety building. What could she possibly say that would pull us back into the depths? Suddenly, the hope we felt teetered on the brink, and I realized with a sinking feeling that our journey was far from over. The gathering fell silent, the laughter and fond reminiscing evaporating like wisps of smoke. Amanda stood there, trembling as she struggled to find the words that had been agonizing her for days. My heart pounded, an unrelenting drumbeat of dread. I glanced at Tom, whose face mirrored my own confusion and fear, then back at Amanda, searching her eyes for clarity. Please, Amanda, I urged gently, hoping to push away the storm brewing within the crowd. We're listening. With a deep breath, she stepped closer, her voice barely above a whisper. On that day, before the accident, I got a text from Emily. She was scared. She was supposed to meet someone she didn't want to, but she didn't want to miss out either. I thought it was a joke at first, something she would laugh off later. But what if it wasn't? The weight of her words pressed down on us like a heavy shroud. The surrounding chatter had dimmed, replaced by an intensity that ignited confusion and concern. Tom gripped my hand, his knuckles white, as I absorbed the implications of what Amanda was saying. Someone who had altered the course of Emily's fate. Amanda, what do you mean she didn't want to? I asked, my voice trembling. What do you know? She bit her lip, tears pooling in her eyes. I wasn't sure then, but now I can't shake the feeling that she was meeting someone who could have changed everything for her. I kept thinking I should reach out to you, but I didn't know how to explain it. I even kept the messages on my phone. There's something not right. As Amanda pulled out her phone, I felt the air grow thick with tension. Everyone's eyes shifted to her, anticipation and fear brewing as we awaited the revelation hidden beneath the surface of that text. My heart raced with conflicting emotions, grief mingling with the urgent need for clarity. Whatever Amanda had to reveal could either shatter the frail sense of hope we had begun to build, or it could open a door to something unimaginable. "Amanda, please," Tom said, almost pleading. "If there's something you know, we need to hear it." The hum of voices faded into a whisper as Amanda scrolled through her phone, her face a mask of determination and fear. "I found it," she breathed, holding up her screen. It was just moments before she hesitated, glancing around as if the weight of our collective gaze could anchor her. She was meeting someone she called S. I thought it was just a friend. I thought it was nothing more than teenage drama. But what if it meant more? What if it was something Samianuho leads to what happened? Someone who might have been involved. My world tilted on its axis, the gravity of her words pulling me down into a spiral of confusion and terror. Memories of Emily's bright smile, her laughter snatched away in an instant, leaving only a void behind. Now, a letter written by my daughter was coming back to haunt me, shrouded in possibility and darkness that I didn't know how to tell you, Amanda whispered again, eyes wide with regret. But I couldn't keep this from you anymore. I can't bear the thought of us not uncovering the truth about what truly happened to her. The room seemed to hold its breath as the implications of her revelation washed over the gathered crowd. Words hung unspoken, each person grappling with the rawness of this new development. Fate had twisted yet again, our quest for healing now bound tightly to a thread of uncertainty and fear. The weight of Emily's absence was still heavy, but now it felt as if we were on the brink of something monumental, a point of no return. I glanced at Tom, fear mirrored in his own expression, as it all hung in the balance. What more lay beneath Emily's tragic end, and would the search for answers lead us to peace or further into the abyss? As the night began to cast shadows across the porch, a decision loomed. Would we confront this unsettling truth head-on and seek justice, or would it remain a painful whisper in our hearts, haunting us as we attempted to move forward? In that moment, we were faced with the stark realization that the journey through grief had led us to an unexpected crossroad. And just as light began to flicker amidst our despair, I knew the road ahead would demand more than any of us had anticipated. The saying goes that the truth will set you free, but in the dim glow of the porch light cast over us, I couldn't shake the feeling it might also bind us tighter in chains of uncertainty and sorrow. As Amanda's trembling lips finished speaking, a suffocating silence enveloped the space, thick with unexpressed emotions and shared pain. The air felt electric, charged with the gravity of what lay ahead. Tom squeezed my hand tighter, and I glanced at him, searching for a flicker of hope that could pierce this shroud of darkness. What do we do now? The uncertainty lingered between us, yet the question hovered above, begging for an answer we weren't yet ready to confront. "That we need to get to the bottom of this." Amanda finally spoke, her voice steadier now, a hint of resolve breaking through the cracks of fear. "Maybe it's someone who can help us piece together what really happened to Emily. Maybe she had a reason to be scared." A collective murmur ricocheted around the group, faces illuminated in the soft light, the lines of worry etched deeper as they faced this new reality. Each of us felt it, an aching desire for the truth, tainted with the fear of what that truth might reveal. "Do you still have those messages?" Tom asked, urgency tinging his voice. Amanda nodded, her fingers dancing over the screen, trying to draw from her device the reminders of a world that had collided with a tragedy just beyond our understanding. "There might be something here that connects us to who Emily wanted to avoid." She hesitated again, a shadow crossing her face. "I just wish I had read them sooner." "None of us knew, Amanda. You did what you could." I felt the warmth of compassion stir amidst the turmoil. "We can't place blame when we're all carrying this sorrow. But we do need your help now." The crowd leaned in closer, each individual straining to glimpse the enormity of the situation, hearts synchronized in rhythm with Amanda's as she navigated through her phone. I took a deep breath, trying to stave off the anxiety threatening to consume me. It was one thing to deal with grief, it was another to unravel the tangled threads of Emily's final days, each unraveling revealing a deeper place of hurt. As I peered over Amanda's shoulder watching the screen illuminate her face, my heart felt heavier still. Suddenly, a chime resonated through the quiet, a ping. Amanda had opened a message. Here. Right before she jutted her finger towards something written, and I leaned closer. The words were innocent at first glance, "Can't wait to see you. Just please don't tell anyone." The crowd inhaled sharply, an invisible thread tightening as the implications settled in. The simple statement now felt like a haunting confession, each character laced with the despair of secrets left unsaid. Who was she meeting that she didn't want anyone to know about? I can't believe I ignored the signs. I thought it was nothing. Amanda choked, the realization crashing over her like waves against unforgiving rocks. I should have been a better friend. It's not your fault, I said, surprising myself with the force of my conviction. But we need to find who this S is. My gaze drifted towards the gathering darkness beyond the porch, a perfect mirror to the unknown that lay before us. At a house party a few streets down, Tom interjected suddenly, his eyes lighting up as if a bulb had flickered in his mind. Emily mentioned it to Mesh was invited but said she didn't want to go after something happened at school. I didn't get the details, and she seemed fine after just a regular day. But now my stomach twisted. Had she changed her mind at the last moment? Had she been pressured into a choice that altered her fate forever? Do you still have that invite? Maybe they could help us find who S is, I suggested, gripping Tom's shoulder in solidarity. But just as realization dawned, another unexpected thrill ran through the air, one that shot the heart into a frenzy. A sudden movement flickered at the edge of the porch light, someone lurking in the shadows. My body froze. Was it just a trick of the light, or had someone witnessed this painful spectacle of truth being unraveled? Before I could voice my concern, a figure stepped into the light, a face I recognized, juxtaposed against this tableau of grief, panic coursing through me like a wildfire. I know who S is, the stranger spoke, their voice cloaked in a trepidation that both intrigued and terrified me. Our hearts raced collectively. The night had shifted once again, the fragile thread of certainty fraying as secrets threatened to unfold, leading us deeper into the dark spiral of Emily's last moments. Answers beckoned like ghosts in the shadows, tantalizing yet dangerous, and I realized now for the first time just how deeply the truth could scar. The porch light flickered, casting an uncertain glow over the figure that had emerged from the shadows. I squinted, trying to comprehend the familiar outline, but it felt like trying to recognize a ghost from the pages of our shared past. Nicolea, a classmate from high school with whom I had once shared laughter and fleeting moments of teenage drama, stood before us, her eyes wide with a mix of fear and determination. "I'm sorry for intruding like this," she said, her voice shaking ever so slightly despite her effort to maintain composure. "But I overheard I had to come." "What do you know?" Amanda's voice trembled, yet held a note of eagerness that resonated with the weight of unsaid questions. Nicole glanced around the group as if gauging the atmosphere, her gaze landing on Tom before returning to rest on Amanda. Emily, she was mixed up with something. Something dangerous. A sharp breath escaped my lips as my heart dropped and the air around us thickened. "What do you mean?" I questioned, needing to pierce through her vague words. She wasn't just scared about going to that party. There was a couple of guys who had been pressuring her to hang out. I thought it was just harmless fun at first. But then, I saw her one night, looking terrified. She begged me not to tell anyone. Her voice softened, laced with guilt. I thought she'd moved on. I thought it was over. Tom clenched his fists, and I could feel the tension in the air ripple. What were they threatening her with? He asked, fury igniting in his tone. I don't know the details, Nicole said hurriedly. But there was a rumor that she had something of value to them. Something that connected her to their secrets. I thought it was just gossip, but now she drifted off, her breath hitching as the realization weighed heavy on her shoulders. Why didn't you say anything sooner? I couldn't help but let the frustration slip. Emily needed you. I know. I thought if I stayed out of it, she would be safe. I thought that no news was good news. The edge of her voice quaked as she wiped a stray tear from her cheek, illuminating her very own turmoil, a battle fought in silence. But it wasn't. And now it's too late. No. It's not too late, Amanda gasped, eyes shimmering with a newfound resolve. If we find out who those guys are, maybe we can understand what really happened. Nicole nodded, wiping away her own tears. I can help. I have some connections. Friends who know them. Hope flickered amidst the shadows, where only despair had marred our hearts moments before. Just as I felt the weight of that glimmer beginning to balance the grief, the atmosphere shifted once more. Another sound echoed in the distancia, a low thud, like something heavy hitting the ground. I turned abruptly, scanning the darkness beyond to catch a glimpse of anything that might herald further danger. What was that? I whispered, unease weaving its way back into my veins. Probably nothing, Tom murmured, though his voice lacked conviction. Maybe we should head back inside, Amanda suggested, her voice tight with anxiety. Just as her words hung in the air, the thud came again, louder this time. Footsteps echoed in the distance, a slow yet deliberate approach that sent shrivels of dread crawling up my spine. We need to go, I insisted, adrenaline spilling over the edges of my fear, willing my body to move. Wait. Nicole urged, but it was already too late. Shadows danced, morphing into silhouettes as a group of men stepped out from the obsidian veil of night, and recognition screamed through my mind. Faces from the past, faces I'd seen in passing, but never registered as a potential threat. The leader, a tall figure with an unmistakable swagger, approached. What's this? He sneered, eyeing our gathering with mock curiosity. A little late-night session about old Emily, huh? The uncanny calm in his demeanor belied an underlying menace, and I could feel my heart race as it became painfully clear that the night had transformed from a quest for truth into something infinitely more perilous. In that moment, an instinct screamed at me to protect Amanda. Tom, and Nicole. We need to leave, now. And then, without warning, the air erupted into chaos as one of the men lunged forward, a flash of metal catching the faint light, a knife, poised with malicious intent. In the whirl of motion, I felt my own strength surge as I propelled my body in front of Amanda, but before I could act fully, another sharp sound filled the night, the crack of gunfire, echoing endlessly, reverberating within me. Time slowed as I turned my gaze towards the threat, and in that split second, it hit me, shocking realization that the path of unraveling the truth might lead us into an even darker abyss than we ever imagined. And as the night descended further into chaos, the chilling thought crystallized in my mind, were we truly prepared for the truths that lay waiting, hidden in the depth of shadows? The acrid scent of gunpowder hung in the air, sharp and suffocating, as disbelief swept over us like a sudden gust of wind. My heart pounded violently in my chest, a war drum signaling the battle ahead, while my mind struggled to process the horrific eruption that had engulfed our small circle of camaraderie. What just happened? I whispered, my voice trembling as I instinctively tightened my grip around Amanda's wrist, pulling her closer to me. Tom's face was a mask of confusion and anger, eyes darting between the men who had encroached upon us and the air still trembling from the gunshot. Nicole's face was pale, her previous resolve shattered as realization dawned. The thing she had tried to protect Emily from was now hurtling towards us with a terrifying ferocity. A brutal reality coalesced. This was not just a confrontation, it was a fight for survival. The men approached with sinister intent, their eyes shining with an unsettling eagerness that sent an icy chill racing down my spine. You think you can just poke your noses where they don't belong? The leader snarled, too close for comfort, too threatening to ignore. As he advanced, I stepped back, ready to shield Amanda with my body. We don't want trouble, I said, barely managing to keep the fear from seeping into my voice. Just let us go. Let you go? He laughed, a low, menacing sound that cut through the darkness like a knife. No, I don't think so. You're a little too curious for your own good. Maybe we should teach you not to ask too many questions about Emily. Those words hung in the air, laden with a weight that was both terrifying and profound. Emily was more than just a friend, she was a sister. The thought of what they might do if we didn't act now sent a surge of adrenaline rippling through me. Suddenly, amid the chaos, I saw a flicker of movement behind the advancing men, another figure emerging from the night. My heart raced as recognition ignited a spark of hope within me. "Noah?" I called out, praying that my memory wasn't betraying me. Noah, an old friend from our circle, stepped into the light. But it was his expression, stoic and determined, that sent a wave of relief washing over me. "Get behind me," he commanded, stepping forward with an air of authority that snapped me into action. That I instinctively pulled Amanda closer, trembling at the thought of yet another person caught up in this tumultuous storm, yet feeling gratitude swell within me at the sight of a familiar ally. The leader scoffed, sizing up Noah. "And you are a friend," Noah replied, his voice steady but laced with tension. "And if you know what's good for you, you'll walk away." Now, the men laughed, a collective noise filled with disdain. "You think you can just scare us off? That's cute." It was a standoff, tense and precarious. I could feel the heat of fear and uncertainty mixing with a flicker of resolve in the pit of my stomach. The air crackled with an impending clash, yet the moment stretched endlessly, a surreal blend of chaos and a desperate hope that perhaps Noah could leverage some form of authority against the dark force closing in on us. But as seconds slipped away, my mind raced with thoughts of Emily, of her turmoil, and the depths of darkness she had faced alone. It crossed my mind, was this what she had feared? Was this the depth of pain we had collectively brushed aside in moments of laughter and youthful ignorance? "Noah." I felt compelled to call out yet again, my voice slicing through the tension. "They know something about Emily. We can't let them just walk away. We need the truth." Noah's gaze intensified, and for a moment, our auras intertwined, filled with an unspoken understanding. He knew the stake, she felt the pulse of fear that gathered at the back of our minds. Just as the standstill buzzed with unuttered words, the leader stepped forward, and the moment ruptured into swift motion. My heart raced, adrenaline surged as the ever-determined fight for survival would amount to action. It was either flee and chance the unknown, or stand and risk everything for the brutal truth that could provide closure. And then, without warning, Tom broke through the tension, lunging forward. "We're not going to let you hurt her memory." The charge propelled him toward the leader. The conflict set in motion, fated to unfold in a cascade of unexpected chaos. In that instant, the weight of our collective grief transformed into an unwavering roar, a firm declaration not just for Emily, but for all the moments we lived in the shadows of others' choices. But then, just as quickly as it began, everything turned on a dime. The hideous echo of the gunshot in the night returned flooding back, and I was struck by the chilling thought: what if the memory we fought to protect became another casualty in the war we never intended to fight? As I braced myself for the rush of chaos that was to come, my heart sank at the prospect that our search for the truth might cost us everything we held dear. But as the first punch landed and fists began to fly, I clung to one singular truth: the night was just beginning, and amid the agony, we were bound not only by grief, but by the flickers of light that occasionally surfaced in the darkest times. Would we emerge unscathed, more united, or would the night unravel us completely? The fray erupted in a blur of fists and shouts, sound cloaking the air in a cacophony of chaos. I felt the pull of panic in the pit of my stomach, the bitter taste of fear gnawing at me as I waded deeper into the tumult. In moments like this, every instinct screamed for survival, yet I knew we couldn't just fight to survive. We had to uncover the truth for Emily's sake. Tom collided with the leader, their bodies tangling awkwardly before crashing to the ground. I watched as Noah dashed toward them, determination etched into every muscle of his frame. My heart clenched. A mix of worry for Tom and an overwhelming sense of helplessness swept over me. The swirling vortex of violence threatened to swallow us whole. Amanda screamed amidst the chaos, and reflexively, I darted toward her, my fingers intertwining with hers. "Stay close," I shouted, my voice nearly drowned out by the clash of bodies reverberating around us. I couldn't abandon her, not now. Suddenly, a harsh shove from behind sent us sprawling into the dirt, and I gasped as I quickly turned to protect Amanda. Through the haze of confrontation, I caught a glimpse of Nicole struggling to her feet, resolute despite the frightful circumstances. Her gaze met mine, and for a fleeting moment, I saw a glimmer of hope reflecting back an unbreakable bond that tied us all together, forged in the fires of this unexpected nightmare. Focus. Noah's voice thundered as he pulled Tom back from the impending onslaught of blows. We need to regroup. But even his authoritative tone wavered under the weight of our collective struggle, crumbling for the tiniest second as he glanced over his shoulder, searching for the fastest route to safety. Just as the tide turned, a harsh exhalation of breath echoed around us. It was the leader, panting heavily and re-evaluating the situation, realization dawning upon him. You think this is a game? He spat, rage dancing on his features. You have no idea what you're up against. Fear wrapped around my heart like a vice. What did he mean? What did they know? Each second felt like a lifetime as their revelation loomed threateningly ahead. And just when clarity began to take shape, a scream, raw and haunting, pierced through the air. It erupted from somewhere deep within the shadows of the night, filled with pain and urgency. Emily. Nicole shouted, her voice trembling with desperation. My heart sank as I turned toward her, the name igniting a tidal wave of emotions crashing over me. This was the weight we were wrestling with: her absence, her memory, the trauma wrapped around her very essence, lost in the complications of our choices. Move. Noah urged, his eyes frantic with realization as they darted back and forth amidst the chaos. But it wasn't just a call to arms, it was a plea for clarity, a desperate outcry for meaning in these dark moments. Before I could fully comprehend his intention, he ducked low, vaulting over fallen bodies, determination fueling his every step. I took a deep breath, a surge of bravery igniting within me as I followed suit, Amanda's hand still firmly clasped in mine. No longer was our aim simply to survive, it was to reclaim Emily's truth, to unearth the buried whispers threatening to suffocate us. We navigated the turmoil, weaving through the wreckage of conflicting loyalties and forgotten pasts, until we reached the outskirts of the scene. Noah turned abruptly, the tension crackling in the air as he faced us. We need to find the source of this madness, he stated resolutely. We cannot let them keep Emily's story hidden. A sense of agreement settled over us, binding our hearts and minds together in an unbreakable knot of purpose. Hope threaded through the chaos around us like a fragile flame, flickering but stubbornly refusing to extinguish. But just as the tides began to shift in our favor, the leader's eyes locked into mine, a malicious grin spreading across his face. You think you can escape the truth? He leaned in closer, his breath hot and rancid, suffused with the promise of darkness. It's already too late. A cold wave of dread enveloped me. In that chilling moment, a horrifying realization settled. What if the truth about Emily was something we were never meant to uncover? Just as the weight of that thought pressed down upon me, suddenly, a shout echoed from the darkness surrounding us, cutting through the noise with startling clarity. It's time to come home, Emily. A chill ran down my spine, and in that single instant, the air thickened with foreboding. We hadn't just stumbled into a confrontation, we had unknowingly stepped into a web of secrets that threatened to consume us, and as I looked into the eyes of my friends, I saw fear mirrored back. Would the search lead us to light, or would the shadows reclaim us for reasons beyond our understanding? The night was just beginning, and with it came a truth that could change everything we thought we knew. The air crackled with tension as the leader's words hung like an ominous cloud over us. My stomach churned, a whirlpool of dread and anticipation spiraling tighter with each passing second. The shadows deepened around us, their whispers wrapping around my thoughts like strands of an intricate tapestry woven from secrets and lies. Noah clenched his fists, the muscles in his jaw working furiously as if he could physically dispel the weight of that chilling declaration. We won't leave without finding Emily, he asserted, his voice somehow a mix of defiance and vulnerability. The fire in his eyes ignited something in me, a spark of courage that had been fading amidst the chaos. Amanda's grip on my hand tightened. She was trembling, yet a glint of fierce determination flickered behind her frightened gaze. Let's keep moving, she urged, her voice trembling but steady as if she were trying to weave strength into her words. I nodded, drawing comfort from our small cluster, unbreakable in its fragility. We slipped away from the main fray into a quieter part of the warehouse, but the echoes of the clash lingered, drumming a fast rhythm in our hearts. As we maneuvered past crates and heavy machinery, I caught sight of Nicole pressing her back against the concrete wall, taking deep breaths to calm her racing pulse. "We can't let them intimidate us," she whispered, her voice low and fervent, infused with resolve, but just as I was about to reassure her, the dim light framed a figure emerging from the shadows. My breath caught in my throat. There stood a woman, her silhouette almost ghostly, a mere specter of a memory. She stepped forward, revealing features that caused my heart to drop. It was Emily's mother, eyes hollow yet shimmering with unshed tears. "What are you doing here?" she asked, her voice trembling, the raw edge of fear holding back despair. "Trying to find Emily," Noah replied, stepping closer, every ounce of concern radiating from him like heat. "We can't leave without knowing the truth," she shook her head, wild and desperate. "You don't understand. There are secrets that will hurt you. You must stop looking." Hearing that brought another wave of confusion crashing over me. "What do you mean?" I asked, desperation threading through every syllable. "She's in danger," her gaze shattered, turning distant as if her mind were caught in the whirlpool of memory. "She is, yes, but it goes deeper than you know." Before any of us could ask further questions, my phone vibrated violently in my pocket, tearing me away from this unraveling moment. I fished it out, a sinking feeling pooling in my stomach. A message illuminated the screen: "If you want to save her, meet me at the old pier. Midnight." No one else. The weight of that message stole the air from my lungs, wrapping around my throat like a vice. "What is it?" Amanda asked, her worry pricking through the thick haze of confusion. "It's about Emily," I murmured, torn between hope and fear, the electronic words flickering like a flimsy lantern trying to push back the darkness. Noah's brow furrowed. "Do you really think it's a good idea?" I could barely answer, though I could feel Emily's presence in my heart even though we had yet to uncover the full extent of the mess surrounding her. What if she really needs us? What if it's the key to everything? Without waiting for consensus, I started back toward the entrance of the warehouse, my mind racing between fear and the urge to save her. Hope flickered alive, fragile as the dim lights around us, a flickering flame that could be extinguished at any moment. But as we stepped into the alley beside the warehouse, the weight of uncertainty shattered the brief moment of hope. In an instant, we were surrounded, figures emerging from the shadows, the leader's grin growing wider, so full of malice. "Did you really think you could slip away?" he taunted, his voice a silken thread of menace. "I told you it was too late." In that moment of chaos, the world compressed against us, the air thick with the scent of betrayal and fear. I felt my heart hammering in my chest, the ground shifting beneath my feet as dread clawed at my gut. "Run!" Noah shouted, but even as we turned, I felt eyes pierce through the air, capturing us like a spider's web. A flash of movement caught my eye beyond the looming figure, a glimmer of something yellow and familiar flickering against the night. A coat. Emily's coat, but before I could process what I had seen, a blinding light flared before us. House erupted, and instinct kicked in. My heart raced, fire coursing through my veins. It felt like a final bow before the fall of everything we had fought for. We would either find the truth together, or the darkness would claim us. All that remained were the echoes of doubt and confusion as we plunged into the cold embrace of the night. The chaos of the moment wrapped around us like a thick fog, consuming any threads of logic and clarity. We poured into the alley, adrenaline propelling us forward, hearts pounding in sync with our hurried breaths. The shouts of our pursuers echoed behind us, a dark symphony of dread that urged us to push harder, to run faster. But that fleeting glimpse of Emily's coat lingered in my mind, a vivid reminder of what we were fighting for. I squinted into the darkness, desperately scanning for any sign of her. Were we too late? Was our resolve for nothing? The fear of losing her gripped me, and I could see it reflected in Noah's eyes, determination tinged with the same desperation. Amanda pulled my arm, drawing me toward a narrow passage where the shadows seemed deeper, more forgiving. "Over here!" she shouted, her voice full of urgency. I nodded and we slipped into the alley's embrace, our bodies pressed close together for comfort and safety. "Where do we go?" Nicole asked, breathless, her face pale under the dim streetlight. "If she's at the pier, we need to get there right now," Noah replied, peering down the alley, every nerve in his body alert to any incoming threats. "But we can't just run blindly. We need a plan." That instant, Amanda glanced around, her wide eyes catching something in the distancia flicker of movement that sent her heart racing, even as it ignited a tiny spark of hope within mine. "The old warehouse down the street, it might give us a way around and closer to the pier," she suggested, her mind already racing through possibilities. As we lingered, weighing our options, the echoes behind us grew louder. Time was a luxury we couldn't afford. "Let's move." I gestured, willing us to trust in the fleeting flicker of safety. We dashed towards the warehouse, the crumbling bricks and splintering wood looming ahead like a cryptic guardian to our future. While we navigated through the darkness, I remembered the thing Emily's mother had said, the buried secrets that could hurt us. What if we were unknowingly bound to something far darker than we ever anticipated? Every step felt heavy, the weight of uncertainty leading me toward a precipice I was too afraid to peer over. In a moment of unmatched courage, or perhaps pure desperation, I grabbed Noah's arm. "If we find her and if the secrets are true, will we be able to handle it?" Noah turned to me, and the intensity of his gaze sent shivers down my spine. "We will face it together," he assured me, his voice a low rumble, a promise woven with conviction. "Whatever it is, we'll take it on as a team." With that, we found ourselves at the entrance of the warehouse, the door creaking ominously as I pushed it open. The smell of damp wood and rust filled my lungs, a stark reminder that we weren't just fighting for Emily, but also against the looming shadows of our past choices. As we stepped inside, the vast interior swallowed us whole, the darkness now even deeper than before. We crept forward cautiously, our hands grazing over aged crates and broken machinery. But then, a sound of soft sobbing made us freeze in our tracks. The sound rippled through the dark space, a haunting melody far more disconcerting than the threat of pursuit. Amanda started, eyes glistening with hope and fear, pushing through the thick walls of uncertainty that surrounded us. We turned the corner to find a small, light beam illuminating a closet-like space far back in the warehouse. The noise became clearer, more distinct. It was a cry born from pain, the kind that stung with raw emotions. "Emily!" I called out, my voice echoing off the walls like a plea sent into the void. But just as we approached, a figure stepped down from the shadows, blocking our path with a menacing posture. The glint in his eyes caught the light, sharp and knowing, one of the leader's men, a presence both familiar and terrifying. "Did you really think you would find her here?" he sneered, stepping closer, his intentions obscured like the air we breathed. A frantic surge of frustration bubbled within me. "Where is she?" I shouted, though my voice trembled with the weight of anxiety. He smirked, relishing our despair. "She's closer than you think. All you had to do was trust the darkness more than yourself." And just like that, the metal door behind him creaked open, revealing a dimly lit room beyond. In that moment, time slowed, my heart thudding in my chest, uncertainty and dread intertwining like an unbearable embrace. Would we be too late? But before I could speak, he turned, glancing back into the shadows with a look of satisfaction that sent chills racing down my spine. "You've made your choice, now face the consequences." A gasp escaped my lips, and though my hand clutched tight to Noah's, I felt the cold grip of despair threatening to pull me under. This was the moment of truth, and yet, it felt like we were spiraling into a chasm with no way out, filled with echoes of a past we couldn't escape and choices we never made. And in the shadows beyond him, a figure shifted, a silhouette flickering at the edges of my peripheral vision. I blinked, second-guessing my sight, but the sensation of familiarity gripped me. "Emily?" I whispered, the name escaping me on a breath of disbelief, but before I could process another heartbeat, the figure vanished, swallowed whole by the darkness looming beyond. The atmosphere crackled with an electric tension, a harsh reminder that we had stumbled too far into the dark web woven around Emily's fate. Time felt suspended, every second stretching painfully as uncertainty coiled tight around my heart. I stepped forward, drawn by the pulsating need to uncover the truth that lay entangled in shadows, yet fear held me back. "Where is she?" I demanded again, my voice trembling with desperation. The man snickered, a sound devoid of compassion. "You'll have to decide whether you're truly ready to hear the truth," he said, voice dripping with mockery. It was a taunt, a challenge wrapped in layers of malice. The bitterness in my throat tightened, but my thoughts raced. I had to push through the dread, the fear that blurred the edges of my resolve. "Where is Emily?" I repeated, my heart pounding in desperate rhythm with the urgency that surged through me. "Follow me if you want to find out," he replied, gesturing with a swift wave of his hand, and my breath caught at the opportunity dangling before me like a fragile thread. I glanced at Noah, Amanda, and Nicole, each of their expressions mirroring my own trepidation and determination. "Is this a trap?" Amanda whispered, her brows knitting together in uncertainty. "It might be our only chance," Noah replied, jaw set with unyielding resolve. With a trembling inhale, I nodded. We couldn't turn back now. The fear of Emily's fate consumed me, each step forward becoming a stride toward the truth. We followed the man, our heartbeat thrumming in unison, echoing into the dark recesses of the warehouse. As we entered the room, I braced myself against the sight before us, a makeshift space where shadows danced eerily against the dim light. From the corner of my eye, movement flickered, and my heart surged as I caught a glimpse of something unmistakably familiar: an old denim jacket draped over a chair, the very coat Emily wore on the last day we saw her alive. "Emily!" I called, my voice laced with desperation and heartbreak, reverberating against the cold walls. "Don't!" The man barked, urgency seeping into his tone. "You don't want to attract unwanted attention." With bated breath, we advanced deeper into the room. And then, an utter silence filled the air, a still that felt unbearable, the darkness thickening until it felt tangible. As I strained my ears, the sobs became clearer. It was unmistakably Emily, her cries radiating despair and longing, nestled in the corners of that shadowy space. "Emily!" My voice broke, the word escaping in a strangled gasp, cutting through the thick fog of fear. The man stepped aside, allowing us a glimpse into the small, dimly lit area behind him, revealing a scene that jolted me to my core. There, huddled on the floor with her back turned to us, was Emily, her slender frame hunched as if the weight of the world had become too great to bear. "Emily," I repeated softly, pain swirling within me as I took a tentative step forward. She turned slowly, her tear-streaked face illuminated under the weak light. Her eyes, so familiar, reflected a deep sorrow that cut through me like an icy blade. "Mom?" she whispered, disbelief woven into her fragile words. "Is that really you?" The moment suspended time, all the darkness that had tainted our hearts suddenly felt distant. Here was my daughter, alive. Relief washed over me, mingled with a torrent of unspent grief. I rushed towards her, wrapping my arms tight around her, feeling the warmth of her body against mine, grounding me in the chaotic whirlwind. "I thought we lost you," I choked out, tears streaming down my face. "I'm so sorry," she sobbed, her small frame shaking against my chest. It was a moment so deeply filled with love yet underscored with haunting sorrow, the tender reunion, marred by unanswered questions and the specter of what lay between us. Tom appeared at my side, reaching for Emily too, utterly overwhelmed. "We're here, sweetheart. We're going to get you out of here." But as our embrace lingered, the man beside us shifted, his voice dripping with bitterness. "You think this changes anything? Emily is still tied to the darkness lurking just outside this room." I turned, the anger bubbling up. "What do you mean?" A sinister smile crept onto his lips, one that sent chills racing down my spine. "Emily is in danger not just because of her secrets but because of what she uncovered. You had no idea, did you? She wanted to escape, to warn you. But it all unraveled before she could act." Emily's gaze flickered between us, fear igniting within her eyes, desperation palpable. "I didn't want any of this. I tried to tell someone, but it was too late." "Tell us what?" I pressed, fueled by the urgency to understand what had ensnared my daughter in this grievous web. Drawing in a shaky breath, she explained through sobs. There were people at school. They knew things I overheard. I thought they were just rumors. I never wanted to get involved, but then her voice trembled as she looked up at me, and I could see the haunted fear lurking just beneath the surface. Before I knew it, they were threatening me. They said they'd hurt you if I told anyone. The weight of her revelation settled heavily in the air, and I felt my heart clench with the implications. The man laughed darkly, relishing the tension. You had no idea how deep the rabbit hole goes, did you? Why are you doing this? Tom demanded, a thin veneer of rage cutting through the tension. Because someone has to pay the price for the truth, the man replied, a cold smile stretching across his face. And tonight will prove to be that reckoning. In that agonizing moment, the reality hit. The darkness wasn't just surrounding us, it had seeped into Emily's very essence, framing her choices. My heart raced as I desperately pieced together the fragments of her story, the crucial moments spiraling into this night of nightmares. No! I shouted, a fierce protective instinct igniting within me. You won't hurt her again. But just as I stepped forward, resolute to shield her from this tempest, the atmosphere shifted yet again. Without warning, a loud crash echoed, sending vibrations through our feet as the heavy warehouse door flew open behind us, and more shadows stormed into the room, faces masked with malice. Emily's tormentors, their presence a dark specter of dread washing over us. Grab her! The leader shouted, and chaos erupted. Run! I screamed, gripping Emily's hand tightly as we surged toward the exit, hearts pounding as we raced into the unforgiving embrace of the night. As we dashed through the dimly lit corridor, I could feel the life flowing through Emily's fingers, a tether binding us back together. But as we neared the door, the shadows closed in, obstacles materializing in our path. They're coming! Tom shouted, urgency edging his voice. We had to navigate through this labyrinth of darkness if we were to find safety. Just as I pushed through the door, a force barreled into us, nearly knocking us off our feet. Stop them! A voice shouted from behind, a malevolent promise echoing against the unforgiving walls. Panic surged, but the sight of Emily grounded me. Her presence became a lighthouse in the storm. Keep going. Noah urged, pushing Amanda and Emily ahead as I stole one last glance back. The darkness pushing harder, emerging like a relentless tide seeking to pull us under. But suddenly a new voice pierced through the chaos, calm yet fierce. It was Nicola stepping up to confront the encroaching shadows, a fierce defiance emanating from her. No! You won't take them! Fury surged through me as we shoved through the door, my heart torn between the desire to save everyone and the fear of what lay behind. It felt hopeless, dizzying. Would we escape this nightmare, or had we only walked into a trap? As we fled into the night, the shimmering lights of the distant pier began to glitter against the horizon, a glimmer of hope amid the darkness that pursued us relentlessly. We wouldn't turn back. Together, we carved our path forward, a shared bond filled with determination to protect Emily, no matter what emerged from the shadows behind us. Every step drew us closer to the truth that would either free us or shackle us deeper into despair. The whispers of danger lingered, wrapping around our thoughts, urging us to confront the unknown, to face whatever waited beyond the veil of darkness. For within the depths of our soul, amidst the horror and relentless fears, was a flicker of something stronger: love, undying and powerful. Would we find the way to illuminate Emily's story, to weave hope out of the chaos? I could only hope as we raced toward the pier, determined to confront whatever awaited us, to reclaim the light that belonged to my daughter. As Emily and I locked eyes, a complicit knowing dawned between us. The journey was far from done, yet the answer burned brightly within: the courage to face the shadows, reclaim the truth, and embrace the love that bound us all. And as we reached the edge of the pier, I whispered into the night, let's take our stand here. We're ready. But little did we know that the moment of reckoning would soon unfold, an unexpected twist, dark as the night sky above, waiting to sweep us off our feet once more and draw us deeper into the unfolding mystery.